This morning, we want you to tell us the stories that have been passed down through your families, but you'll have to keep them short. You'll have to fit them into a text on 85058. This is because a new website wants parents and grandparents to record their tales and put them online so they can be passed on to future generations. Here's just one classic example. Uncle Albert in Only Fools and Horses talking to Del Boy.
What Rodney needs is a counter-worry.
You what?
Well,
If you say during the war once more, I'm going to pour this cup of tea right over your head.
I wasn't going to say during the war.
Well, that's all right then.
You little know-all.
All right. I'm sorry.
Thank you. During the 1939-1945 conflict with Germany, I was sailing on a frigate, HMS Sphinx, in the Adriatic. Now, in those days, a ship's crew was full of stress and fear.
Yeah, I'm not surprised when they saw you walking up the gangplank.
Eileen Gittins is the founder of Blurb, which is the group behind this website. Morning, Eileen.
Good morning.
Apparently the trouble is that young children these days are bored of their parents' and grandparents' stories.
Yes, in fact, we've recently conducted some research that said, not surprisingly, that 1 in 3 children find their grandparents' stories boring, and they tune out at the dinner table when they're being discussed.
And you think actually this is a missed opportunity, so lovely family histories are being lost. The art of storytelling is being lost.
It's so true. We all know in our families there are everything from epic adventures to amazing rural crafts to love stories that are just at risk, honestly, of being lost forever, and that would be a terrible shame.
So you want people literally to go onto your website and record their stories?
That's right. So we've launched a campaign to help capture many of the stories here in Britain. It's called nationofstorytellers.com, and we're asking people to submit literally just 300 words to capture their story. And then what will happen is a panel of judges will select the 20 top ones. And if you're selected, you will receive a professional photographer will come out and take your photograph. A journalist will help you craft that story. The story will be compiled into a truly beautiful, beautiful professional book. And you'll receive 5 copies for yourself and your family, plus a voucher to make perhaps your own book at blurb.com.
And it will be forever preserved. Thank you very much. So that's blurb.com. And tell us any of your favourite family stories, if you can fit them into 140 characters or less, on 85058.
Well, I remember my grandfather, who died in 1976. He fought on the Somme in the First World War. And I remember him telling me about that when I was a little boy and being absolutely riveted by it.
Do you remember the detail?
And then, yes, I do. And then I remember one day I was reading the Radio Times, must have been about 1975, 1976, and they had a thing saying, does anyone have memories of the Somme? Because they were making a documentary about it. And I told my grandpa, and then I got him to write it all down, and he sent it to the BBC, and then they used an actor voiced some of his letter in the documentary, and I watched him in his armchair. He was very old, with tears running down his face, watching that bit. And I went to the BBC recently. I went to the BBC. I'll work it, but you have to. And I got the actual documentary, and I've got an actor reading his words.
That's amazing, because you need to keep that to pass it on to your children, so they can pass it on to their children then. Right, blurb.com. But yeah, tell us your family stories this morning on 85058. Here's Simon.
So wet and